Have you ever said something in the heat of the moment, a quick, hasty judgment that you almost immediately wished you could take back? Words, once spoken, are like arrows shot from a bow. They cannot be recalled, and their impact can linger long after the sound has faded. We often underestimate the power of our words, the immense weight they carry. A single sentence can build a bridge or burn it to the ground. It can inspire hope or inflict a wound that takes years to heal. The habit of making snap judgments, of speaking without thinking, is one of the most destructive habits we can possess. Today, we're going to explore the profound cost of a quick, hasty judgment, not through abstract ideas, but through a powerful story and the undeniable science that backs it up. This isn't just about being polite. It's about fundamentally changing how we interact with the world and with ourselves. There once was a young man who had a terrible temper. His father, a wise old carpenter, wanted to teach him a lesson about the consequences of his anger and his hasty words. He handed his son a bag of nails and a hammer. He told him, "Every time you lose your temper and say something hurtful, I want you to go out to the back fence and hammer one nail into it." The fence was old but sturdy, made of thick, weathered planks of wood. On the first day, the young man hammered 37 nails into the fence. He was shocked at the number. Each nail represented a moment of lost control, a volley of harsh words fired at family, friends, or even strangers. Over the next few weeks, as he continued to hammer nails, he began to think before he acted. He started to learn to control his tongue. It was difficult, but the physical act of hammering nail after nail was a powerful, tangible reminder of the damage he was causing. He discovered that it was easier to hold his temper than to drive those nails into the fence. The number of nails he hammered each day gradually dwindled down. He was learning the art of the pause, the sacred space between a trigger and a response. Finally, the day came when the young man didn't lose his temper at all. He felt a sense of pride and rushed to tell his father. He hadn't hammered a single nail that day. His father smiled warmly. "That's wonderful, my son. But the work is not finished. Now, for each day that you manage to hold your temper, I want you to pull out one nail from the fence." This new task was much harder than the first. The nails were driven deep into the old wood, and pulling them out required immense effort and care. Days and weeks passed, and the young man diligently worked. Pulling out a nail for every day, he practiced patience and restraint. Finally, after many months, he came to his father and announced that all the nails were gone. The fence was clear. The father took his son by the hand and led him to the back fence. "You have done well, my son," he said, his voice soft but firm. "You have learned to control your tongue and your temper, but look closely at the fence. Do you see the holes?" The young man ran his fingers over the wood. The fence was riddled with countless small, ugly holes where the nails had been. It was scarred and damaged, a permanent record of his past anger. His father continued, "The fence will never be the same. When you say things in anger or make a hasty judgment, your words leave scars just like these. You can apologize, you can say you're sorry 1,000 times, but the wound is still there. A verbal wound is sometimes worse than a physical one because it attacks a person's spirit, their self-worth. The holes left by our words can fester in someone's mind for years, shaping their perception of themselves and the world." This simple story reveals a profound truth. Our initial judgments are often based on incomplete information, colored by our own biases, moods, and insecurities. When we speak from this place of ignorance, we are not speaking truth. We are simply broadcasting our own limitations. Think about the last time someone made a snap judgment about you. How did it feel? It likely felt unfair, dismissive, and hurtful. You knew they didn't see the full picture, your intentions, or your struggles. Now, turn that mirror on yourself. How often do we do the same to others? This isn't just a philosophical or moral issue. It's backed by fascinating scientific research into how our brains work. Our brains are hardwired for efficiency. To navigate a complex world, they create mental shortcuts, known as cognitive biases. One of the most powerful of these is the fundamental attribution error. This is our tendency to explain someone's behavior by their internal character, their personality, while explaining our own behavior by external circumstances. For example, if someone else cuts you off in traffic, your immediate thought might be, "What a reckless, selfish person." You attribute their action to a flaw in their character. But if you cut someone off, you're likely to think, "I'm in a huge hurry," or "I didn't see them." You attribute your action to the situation. This bias leads us to make quick and often unfair judgments about others. We see a single action and we create an entire story about who that person is, forgetting the immense, unseen complexity of their life. We don't consider that maybe they are rushing to the hospital, or they just received terrible news, or they are simply having a very, very bad day. Neuroscience shows that when we make a snap judgment, we are primarily using the amygdala, the ancient, emotional part of our brain responsible for the fight or flight response. It's fast, reactive, and not very good at nuanced thinking. To think before we speak, we need to engage our prefrontal cortex. This is the more evolved part of our brain, responsible for rational thought, empathy, and impulse control. The simple act of pausing, of taking a deep breath before responding, allows the prefrontal cortex to catch up and override the amygdala's initial, hasty impulse. Dr. Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel laureate, talks about this as thinking fast and thinking slow. Hasty judgments are thinking fast. It's automatic and effortless. Thinking slow is deliberate, conscious, and requires effort. It's the kind of thinking that prevents us from leaving permanent holes in the fences of our relationships. So, how do we cultivate this habit of thinking slow? It begins with mindfulness, with the conscious decision to be present in our conversations. It means listening not just to reply, but to understand. Before you speak, ask yourself 3 simple questions, a modern version of the Socratic triple filter test. First, is it true? Do you know for a fact that what you are about to say is accurate, or is it just an assumption or gossip? Second, is it kind? Will your words build the other person up or tear them down? Even if something is true, it doesn't always need to be said, especially if its only purpose is to cause pain. And third, is it necessary? Is what you are about to say helpful? Will it improve the situation or the relationship? If the answer to any of these questions is number, then perhaps silence is the better option. Silence is not emptiness. It is full of unspoken understanding and respect. Imagine a world where everyone took just a 5-second pause before they spoke. A world where we gave each other the benefit of the doubt, assuming good intentions until proven otherwise. How many arguments would be avoided? How many relationships would be saved? How much misunderstanding and hurt would simply vanish? The cost of a quick, hasty judgment is immense. It costs us trust, it costs us relationships, and it costs us our own peace of mind. Every time we speak without thinking, we hammer another nail into a fence. And even when we apologize and pull the nail out, the hole remains. Let's make a commitment, starting today, to be more like the wise carpenter and less like the young man at the beginning of his journey. Let's be mindful of our words. Let's trade our hammers for a moment of quiet contemplation. Choose to be a source of encouragement, not a source of scars. Think before you speak, because your words have the power to shape worlds, for better or for worse. The choice is always yours. Thank you for watching. If you found this message valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to Motivation Repo for more content to help you build a stronger, more mindful life.